Welcome back to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit. The North American auto sector is experiencing one of its most dramatic shakeups in modern history. A reversal so sudden it's left analysts scrambling and automakers reassessing their entire playbook. Honda, once the definition of stability in the US market, is now absorbing a barrage of tariff shocks, policy pivots, and supply chain turmoil under President Trump's second-term agenda. Meanwhile, Canada, usually the quiet neighbor in automotive headlines, is emerging as the unexpected backbone of the EV transition. How did Honda stumble while Canada surged? Let's break down the turning points behind this industry-defining shift. Tariff earthquake. How Trump's pen shattered Honda's momentum. Honda's reputation for resilience was built over decades, surviving oil crises, economic stagnation, and global recessions with its engineering discipline and supply chain consistency intact. But the revived tariff framework under Trump's second term struck at the company's structural core. Honda reported a harsh 37% profit decline mid-year, with projections warning of a possible 64% collapse, numbers that force even legacy automakers to pause and rethink their long-term blueprint. With roughly $1.5 billion in losses tied directly to US-bound tariffed parts and vehicles, the cost of doing business soared. Each Honda rolling into America effectively carried an extra $5,000 to $7,000 burden, a disastrous margin hit in a market already strained by high interest rates. Once federal EV incentives disappeared, the Prologue EV, once viewed as Honda's North American EV breakthrough, fell a stunning 87%. Then the semiconductor crisis struck. China retaliated after the Nexperia seizure, cutting off key chip flows and disrupting Honda's factories across the US, Canada, and Mexico. Overnight, Honda's most dependable region became its most fragile, and that vulnerability opened a door for someone else. Canada was ready to sprint through it. Canada's power move, a $15 billion EV empire rises. As the US tightened trade rules and reshuffled EV incentives, Canada saw an opportunity and executed with precision. Honda's initial $11 billion plan in Ontario evolved into a sweeping $15 billion EV mega-project, the largest in Canada's automotive history. But unlike typical announcements built on lofty ambition, this ecosystem is engineered for full vertical integration. Honda's Ontario complex will include a dedicated EV assembly plant, a cutting-edge battery manufacturing facility, and key materials operations built with partners POSCO Future M and Asahi Kasei. Together, they form a tightly integrated supply chain capable of producing 36 gigawatt-hours of battery capacity and 240,000 EVs annually. Canada's strength isn't just financial backing, it's consistency. Ottawa structured up to $5 billion in federal provincial incentives as shared investments, aligning long-term industrial policy with corporate strategy. Additional 10% EV supply chain credits and 30% clean tech credits provided what the US could not: predictable decade-long rules. As America grappled with tariff shockwaves, Canada quietly amassed more than $46 billion in EV commitments since 2020, becoming the region's new EV anchor. But while Canada was rising, Honda itself was facing a crisis that went far beyond tariffs. Its entire EV strategy was unraveling. Before we delve deeper, hit like and subscribe to Piston Pundit. It helps us reach more auto enthusiasts and keeps you updated on the latest industry shakeups. Honda's EV freefall and the painful reboot ahead. Beyond tariffs and supply hurdles, Honda confronted a deeper market reality. The global EV slowdown arrived far sooner than expected. After years of optimistic projections, the company cut its 2030 EV target from 30% to 20%, an astounding reversal for a brand that once championed aggressive electrification. EV adoption in the US and Europe cooled sharply as buyers faced high prices, inadequate infrastructure, and expensive financing. Meanwhile, China's overproduction of low-cost EVs distorted global pricing and squeezed profits across the industry. Honda disclosed more than 237 billion yen in losses from EV program cancellations, restructuring, and production adjustments. Losing U.S. EV tax credits compounded the problem, contributing to the Prologue's dramatic 87% sales drop. The chip restrictions triggered by China's retaliation only worsened bottlenecks, hitting EV-leaning models hardest. In response, Honda designated its Ohio operations as its new North American EV hub, initiating substantial retooling and expanding its partnership with LG Energy Solution. This isn't Honda retreating. This is Honda recalibrating, shifting from rapid EV adoption to a more resilient, diversified long-term strategy. But while Honda was retooling, the world around it was shifting again, this time through a geopolitical chip war that threatened every automaker. Chip War Shockwave, the breakdown reshaping global automaking. The global auto sector had barely patched itself together after the 2021 semiconductor shortage when a new shock erupted, this time rooted not in logistics, but geopolitics. The Dutch government's seizure of Nexperia, a Chinese-owned chipmaker supplying essential low-grade automotive semiconductors, provoked immediate retaliation from Beijing. China blocked exports from Nexperia's Dongguan facility, cutting off chips vital for everyday vehicle functions: wipers, brake controllers, window regulators, lighting modules. Without them, even advanced assembly plants grind to a standstill. Honda was first to confirm production cuts, scaling back operations in the US, Canada, and Mexico. Automakers launched 24-hour crisis war rooms, desperately searching for substitute suppliers. Stellantis rationed chips daily, Ford warned of potential shutdowns, and GM and Mercedes echoed the same alarms. This disruption exposed how deeply the industry still depends on China-linked chip infrastructure. For Honda, already strained from tariffs and softening EV demand, the chip war magnified its challenges, reinforcing the need for regional chip manufacturing and redesigned components. And as the semiconductor crisis deepened, the geopolitical chessboard shifted again, this time through new alliances and pressured partnerships. A new auto world order, alliances under pressure. As semiconductor tensions escalated, President Trump embarked on a sweeping diplomatic tour of Asia to rebuild America's industrial alliances. The result was a series of technology prosperity agreements with Japan and South Korea, aiming to secure critical minerals, expand chip production, and loosen dependence on China. Japan's commitments focused on resource access and cross-border industrial cooperation, with Toyota signaling a rare willingness to open distribution channels to US-built vehicles. South Korea pledged billions in aerospace and manufacturing purchases, alongside investment plans designed to counterbalance China's dominance. But Japan and South Korea weren't the only players adjusting to this changing landscape. China's response reshaped the battlefield yet again. Talks with China produced only a temporary cooling period. Tariffs on vehicles, metals, and critical materials remain, and the de minimis threshold was not restored, restricting small Chinese shipments from bypassing duties. For Honda and the broader industry, this environment is both opportunity and hazard, forcing automakers to balance geopolitics with long-term planning. And in the middle of this tectonic shift, one country emerged as the unexpected winner: Canada. Verdict: Canada claims the crown of North America's EV future. Honda's struggles in the US reveal a much larger transformation underway across North America. Tariffs, semiconductor disruptions, shifting EV demand, and policy reversals weakened what was once Honda's most dependable market. In that uncertainty, Canada stepped forward, offering predictable incentives, integrated EV infrastructure, and a long-term industrial vision. This shift isn't just geographic, it's strategic. Automakers now value stability over rhetoric, and Canada has become the steadier platform for billion-dollar commitments. Meanwhile, the US faces political volatility, unpredictable tariff cycles, and inconsistent EV policy frameworks. Honda's pivot signals a broader trend. Companies invest where conditions allow long-term planning. The key question now is whether Washington can adapt, or whether Canada has already secured a commanding lead in shaping the continent's EV identity. Before you go, let's talk. Will Canada lead North America's EV race? Are tariffs helping or hurting the US auto sector? What should Honda prioritize next in this shifting landscape? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your insight fuels the conversation. If you found this breakdown valuable, don't forget to subscribe to Piston Pundit and turn on notifications for more industry updates. Thanks for watching and see you in the next deep dive.